Welcome to Senior Insights. My name is Cynthia, and today we're going to talk about what I think is a lost art, or it's the beginning of a lost art. The reason that I chose to talk about writing and the evolution of script is because I have noticed in my own life that the cards are getting less and less, the letters are getting less and less, and what triggered me was that I received 2 cards last week, and they were very nice, and they had letters in them and notes. And that got me to thinking that how nice is that? And nobody does that anymore. Even I put like a sticky note or something and jot down like a quick note in a bill or something. I don't put it on a nice piece of paper and do my best with the penmanship. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. That's why I decided that we needed to talk about it, because we're going to do just a brief history. I'm not going to go into it. I'm sure you're not interested in how penmanship came about, but I want to talk about a couple of the methods, and then I want to talk about the real reason that we're doing this video is because we need to protect that dying art. We are probably the last generation, maybe another group coming up. I don't know what they call it. We're baby boomers, but I don't know what the younger ones are. But I think we have a responsibility to protect it. So people have been trying to communicate with the written word for a long time. The cavemen did. They used to draw up pictures and stories on the walls of the caves where they would scratch them in, or they would paint them with sticks, burnt sticks, or things like that. Apparently there's some caves in France. They're the oldest caves, we think, that and there are cave writings. I've seen a few myself. I think in the Grand Canyon there might be some, but I think I saw some in one time when I was in Las Vegas. We went to the I don't know, it's a red desert. We went there a lot, and I think there's some writing on the rocks there. Anyway, I can't tell you what it is. I'll try and figure it out before I post this message. So then there were hieroglyphics, and the hieroglyphics, I have an example of that. I don't have it on a slide because I don't know how to do it. So this is it. What the archaeologists and the geologists, or whoever discovered these things, discovered that the pictures that they were drawing on stone tablets or on leather, pieces of leather, or whatever they wrote on, they could figure out what the letter actually was, what they comparable to our alphabet, and so they can interpret a lot of the hieroglyphics that you find on caves. You find them in old religious documents and that sort of thing. So we're beyond hieroglyphics. We don't have to save hieroglyphics. We have to save cursive. So when we went to school, those of us who were fortunate to go to school, I don't want to insult anyone that wasn't able to go to school or that doesn't know how to write, because I'm sure that there are people that don't, and that's okay. But when I went to school, I went to a Catholic school, and I had nuns, and we studied the Palmer method. The Palmer method came into being after the Spencerian method was kind of going out of favor. So it was the Spenceria method of penmanship, and then it was the Palmer method. And he actually had a company, and he had Mr. Palmer, I almost called him Arnold Palmer, but he had a company in Boston, Chicago, Philadelphia, and he had one in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. So if you're from Cedar Rapids, you can be proud that Mr. Palmer had his business there. You probably know more about it than I do. But one of the things about the Palmer method is it was very repetitive. And his philosophy was that you had to train the muscles in your hand. And so you did repetitive exercises. And I have some pictures of those someplace too. Repetitive exercises. But this is what the penmanship looks like. So this is what I learned. It takes 6 months to a year, according to Mr. Palmer. I don't remember because we did writing exercises every day of our lives in school. So I noticed that my penmanship is really going down the tubes lately. So I bought this notebook with the intent to start all over with the drills. You can find the information on Google, and you can see, you can actually download the whole instruction manual, but that was like a lot of pages, and I didn't feel like doing that. But he goes in great detail in terms of the position of your arm, that you should wear a smooth cuff. I mean, that's how detailed it was. There's a certain way that you have to hold your pencil or your pen. And I think we started out with pencils, not with pens, but I could be wrong about that. But I do remember that I loved the repetitive nature of it. I loved it. And I think that even though this seems silly that I've got this kindergarten notebook, it's for ages preschool through first grade. So that's the level. But I've noticed that my penmanship is going down the tubes. It's not nice anymore. I don't seem to pay attention. Sometimes I can write really well, and then sometimes it's not my handwriting. I used to take pride in my handwriting because it was drilled into us so much. The other thing, when I was in school, I had pen pals, and we used to write letters. They were from India. I had sister nuns that were pen pals because I thought I had a vocation and that I was going to be a nun. So I was trying to decide what order I was going to go into. So I would write to them, and they would write back to me, letters and letters. Now it's probably like those cards we get in the mail for asking for donations. But I thought it was pretty cool because they directly talked to me, and they were not printed letters. So I had those kind of letters. My sister met a kid when we were camping one time when we were kids. She is still pen pals with him. He lives in New Hampshire. We live in Maine. I live in Maine. We lived in Massachusetts. But I can remember him coming down to visit with us. And they were pen pals. And that is really cool. And they still are pen pals. My sister loves to write letters. She writes these flourishing letters, and she has beautiful penmanship. So she's the one who used to send me a tea bag in the card. But anyway, so I'm planning on, as one of my mindful activities, is to practice the Palmer method. So anyway, after the writing, then there came the typewriter and the, what was that thing? It was like a typewriter, but it went into the computer, a word processor. And then everything started to be, remember the mimeograph machines? Yep. They would mimeograph the typewritten papers that teachers would do. But anyway, the thoughtfulness and the care of someone writing a handwritten note is wonderful. It's really very nice. It's very special. And we're slowly losing touch with that. We communicate now by texts or emails. It's not even emails. At least an email is some kind of letter. But a text is, I was giving an example. If I asked one of my kids, how are you feeling today? They say, good. Well, what kind of an answer is that? I'm trying to stimulate a conversation here, like, do you have a headache today? Did you have a good day? What did you do? Did you go shopping? You know, like we talk about at coffee break. But they don't do that anymore. They don't write letters. They're not even teaching children in school how to write. Cursive went out quite a while ago, and then it was printing. And now it's nothing. All they have to do is sign an X for their name. I gave Christmas cards and I signed my name in cursive, and they had to ask their mother who it was from. I think that's very serious. I think it's a crying shame, actually. What do you think? I mean, am I nuts? I know I'm nuts, but don't you think it's nice to get a handwritten note? And I saw in many of those cards that I went through the other day that there were handwritten notes in a lot of them. But we just don't do it anymore. When I was in nursing school, I wrote to my then future husband every single day, and he wrote to me every single day. And I couldn't wait to get down to the mailbox and see what he said. Of course, we didn't have cell phones, and we were only allowed to use the phone at certain times, and everybody wanted to use it. So it was always kind of a fight to get to the phone. But those letters were really, really important. My girlfriend wrote to me, and I told you just before she passed away, we shared all the letters. She had saved my letters. I hadn't saved hers. But we read them, and they were so much fun to read. It was such reminiscing, and I was so glad that I had that chance to do that with my dear friend. I mean, she was my very best friend in the whole world. And she said to me, you were bossy. It's true. I'm wicked bossy. I like to take charge of everything. Because I told you I think I'm an authority on everything. But I'm not, as you can tell, as I'm trying to tell you about penmanship. So there's lots of different ways that you can communicate with somebody in writing. If you're a spouse and you're not as old as most of us are at this coffee break, you could slip something into their lunch or something into their pocket, your spouse or your children. A lot of mothers will put notes in their children's lunch boxes and stuff, but I wonder if they even do that anymore. And for us older folks, we could still do the same thing. I mean, if we have a spouse, we can still put a little note on the pillow, I love you, or could you stop snoring tonight? Or you kicked me last night. No, I'm talking about nice notes, because we're not always nice to each other, and we don't want to have regrets when something happens. So let's try and fix some of these things that we can fix. Like, you don't want to regret that you never did a little love note to your spouse or to your children. I had to do some estate planning, we'll call it, and one of my children is the power of attorney and is going to be the executor of the estate. Well, I had to download a paper that listed an account that I have and where the money was supposed to go. And he is the executor and he's the primary beneficiary. So I wrote in the note, and pretty good penmanship. Actually, I wrote it once and the penmanship sucked, so I printed it out again. And I paid attention to what I was writing, and I said, dear so-and-so, this money is to be distributed equally amongst the three of you. And then I said, I wrote, if you're reading this letter, I must be gone. So remember that I'll always love you. And when they find that, I have other little things too around. That's gonna hopefully mean something. Maybe they'll get a little misty eyes. They probably will, because it'll be soon on, because they'll be looking to find out what kind of money I have. No, they all know. They have all copies of everything. So, where was I? Notes, letters. And then I was thinking I should show some stationery. Well, I don't have any stationery because I haven't written in a long time, but I used to love stationery. And when I wrote to my first husband those daily letters, I would spray perfume on them. You know, how special is that? So I did the daily letters, and we did cards and that sort of thing. But I loved the stationery. I loved the kind that had lace around the edges and was pink, or it had a pretty flower on the top, or there's all kinds of really nice stationery out there. And now they have, you know, all the artisans that do printing and that sort of thing. So you can get some really nice stationery. Or when I was looking, I had all of these things that I'm going to have to throw out or give away. These were computer papers. At one time I was going to write Christmas letters, you know, so I have this paper. Why couldn't you write a letter on that at Christmas time, though? Because it would be tacky if you didn't do it. If that's all you have, it would still be meaningful. Then I have this heart one. I should have taken these out. I don't do anything the easy way. That would be pretty for stationery right now. Then I have this for the patriotic ones. I have this. You could use this for stationery. And you're decluttering, because the whole purpose of all the things we're doing is trying to declutter. Now, even if you write 2 letters a month, you're still reducing the pile. Look at this. That's nice for a letter. So anyway, those are things that you could use to write letters. You could also just use a normal piece of paper. Something a little classier than a Post-it note. Maybe one of those small legal pad things. Something nice. You could use computer paper, printer paper. That's not necessarily the nicest quality. If you're not able to write, then you could start doing more emails. You could text whoever you text, and you could say, check your email. That's what they do to you. Check your email, and then you can write this whole flowery letter, and it would be nice. I noticed when I found my mother's cards, each one as she was getting older, she was kind of like making amends and wanting to make sure that we knew that she loved us. And we have to do that with our children, whether they're brats or whether they're, I don't know, president of a corporation, doctors, lawyers, Indian chiefs, even if they're on the road, you know, on homeless, they're homeless. Doesn't everybody deserve to know that their mother loved them? Except those that are totally estranged from their children. And I know that that has to be sometimes, because, I don't know, I'm not getting into lectures. I just want you to start communicating a little bit more. You'll feel better. You'll get stuff off your chest. You don't have to make like big confessions or anything. Just say nice nice things. Remember when we used to go to the beach and you used to bury me in the sand? Stuff like that. Or you could send cards. Every single January, I decide that I am going to send birthday cards and seasonal cards to all my children and all my grandchildren. I've done it for years saying that, and I've never done it. I don't do it. I go so far as to buy cards. I have some right here. Why is it that every time I try to reach for something, I can't find it? Anyway, my grandson graduated from college last week. Did I send him a card? No, but I bought it about 3 weeks ago. My sister's wedding anniversary was in April. Nothing. This was a card that I was going to send to the friend who sent me a card last week. I've had it. I don't take the time because, I don't know, because I'm lazy or I don't really care. I don't think that's it. I think there's something wrong. Here's another one. For that same person who sent me a card just last week. 2 that I have purchased for her. This was my sister's birthday in March. So anyway, you get the point. And you know what? Cards are wicked expensive if you buy them in the Hallmark store, or the grocery store, or the pharmacy. But if you go to Dollar Tree, you can get 2 for $1, and they're Hallmark cards. So there's no excuse for not sending cards. So let's hold each other accountable. And back to the penmanship. Practice writing nicely. The other thing is to put the date on the card. That was another defect when I was going through those cards. I was trying to figure out how long ago did he send those cards to me? Did he give me those cards? Nothing. Everything I do, I put the date on it, but not everybody does that, but that's something that you should do. They'll say, look at this, she was 96 years old and she wrote me a card. Because if they take the time to read it. There is one method. Wait a minute. I think that there are people actually that would help with letter writing. You know, a neighbor, a friend, a senior center, a volunteer. What if you don't have hands? What if you can't write? What if you're blind? What if you can just utter a few words, but you can get your message across? Have someone write that down for you. Find someone who will help you. And do that. Because as I found out when I was going through those cards, they're very important. And as I felt when I saw those other cards, and I knew that I had these cards here and I never sent them. She beat me to it. She always beats me to it. But she doesn't know that I have these cards here for her, and that I thought about her when I bought the cards. So here's another. I'm getting weepy. I don't know if I'm, what's wrong with me? So let's try real hard to do handwritten messages. make those kids have to figure out what you're saying. Let them figure it out. There's got to be some translation someplace. Or maybe their parents or whatever. If you can't write, draw. Like my grandson drew. He drew a picture. And Carol from Bountifully Abundant, she said, I think it's a butterfly. So I was really pleased that she noticed that card and she took the time to comment that she thought it was a butterfly. I thought it was a heart. So another thing I forgot to tell you, for my wedding invitations, I had them printed with calligraphy. So I told you I have a kit for every kind of activity. This is a calligraphy set, and I was going to learn how to do that. That's something that us old folks can do. You don't have to go anyplace. I'm sure on the internet there's stuff, and in this booklet that came with this kit, there's all kinds of exercises to do. So why don't you do a calligraphy letter? It'll really shock them. But meanwhile, what I'm going to do is I'm going to practice on my preschool tablet to improve my handwriting. I want to thank you for putting up with me and for listening to me and for coming and joining me for coffee. Hopefully I'll see you tomorrow. And that's it. Thank you. Please write a comment if you know how to write.